Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the 13th meeting of the Honolulu Liquor Commission. Commissioners, I see there are minutes to approve. May I have a motion?
Yes, Chair, motion to approve regular and special meeting minutes for the 47th meeting, the regular and executive session minutes for the first meeting, and the regular minutes of the 8th meeting as previously circulated.
Second.
It's been a motion and a second. Any objections or reservations? Hearing seeing none, I also vote aye. The motion carries. The regular and special meeting minutes for the 47th meeting, the regular and executive session meeting minutes of the first meeting, and the regular minutes of the 8th meeting as previously circulated are approved. This time we'll move into our calendar for this afternoon, calling agenda item number 1, application number 22-24354 from Park Event Services LLC.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Devin Koba, as well as Emmanuel Zabakalam, representing Park Event Services LLC. Seated behind me to my right is Mr. J. Park, P-A-R-K, and to my left is Mr. Raymond Ho, Jr., H-O.
Hello, Commissioners. Regarding this matter, we were presented a supplemental licensing investigation report timestamped at 3:53 p.m. today. Due to the nature of the timeliness of this report, we do have comments regarding both the supplemental as well as the application itself. I would like to, I guess, leave it up to the commission whether or not they would like to have this agenda be done first on or move till later for more time to be allotted. But that's just the query I would pose.
Sure. I guess I'll ask a question. For this type of matter, if there are issues with the mailing, typically we would continue the matter with the public hearing left open for you to correct that. If that's the case, we can, if that will likely be the case, we can just talk about that now. If you think that this can be resolved in this hearing, perhaps we would want to move that to that back to the council.
I do believe that this can be resolved in this hearing. Additionally, I believe there's precedent for these types of issues that's already been set by the commission. So I'd like to at least review those options before continuing for however long you'd like to, if that's the decision of the commission.
Okay. And the second question is, given the time at which you receive this, do you need time to look through this more and would prefer to be left to the end of the calendar? Today's calendar is relatively short, so I don't know how much time that would be, but would you like some extra time to review?
I'd appreciate it if we could have until the end of the calendar to review.
Okay. I think that's fine. Commissioners, do you have any comments on that? Okay,
That's right.
so we will recall your matter before our other business after agenda item number 16.
Thank you very much, Commissioners.
Calling agenda item number 2, application number 23-01684 from Wade Family Group Inc.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. This is James Lee representing Wave Family Group Inc., DBA Honolulu Hot Pot Parley. Seated to my right is Mr. Jia Liang Wei, the last name W-E-I. He is the owner and the son of the, I'm sorry, he's the manager, son of the owner. Mark is the applicant. And that's enough for my introduction.
Okay. Ms. Ryan, would you like to put any statements on the record?
Thank you, Mr. Chair and Commissioners. This application has received 0 written protests, 0 letters in support. Applicant has met statutory requirements for the submission of this application.
Is there anyone who would like to provide public testimony as to agenda item number 2? Hearing and seeing none. Commissioners, any comments or questions for agenda item number 2? I have
I move we approve application number 23-01684.
Second. There's been a motion and a second. Any objections or reservations? Hearing and seeing none, I also vote aye. The motion carries. Application number 23-01684 is approved. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Calling agenda item number 3, applications number 24-00571-1 through 24-00571-4 inclusively from Ambassador Owner LP. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Christina Ohira on behalf of the applicant. I don't have any corrections to the investigative report, but I do have some comments that I'd like to share with you at the appropriate time.
Please proceed.
So this specials request is because our temporary license hasn't yet been approved. You'll notice it's for 10 days. But I would, depending on the status, I don't know if Daniel could give an update, like I'm hoping these till October 10th is sufficient time, but if that's not, then maybe we could discuss longer. But we actually submitted our temp. So as you may recall, in July, I had come regarding this property and you had authorized us to file a temp, which we filed immediately thereafter in mid-July, but it still has not been processed. So I'm hoping that we could get some clarity on where it is in the process. And then I'd also respectfully request that the fees be waived for our special application dates because my clients now incurred cost for, their new application, their temp, and then now we're faced with special daily fees. But we really did timely submit our temp and a temp should have been issued by now, honestly.
Mr. Chair, I wanted to make a disclosure that I'm personal friends with the event promoter, but this would not impair my ability to make a impartial judgment.
Thank you, Vice Chair. That is noted for the record. Okay, I'm sorry, is there anything else for your comments?
Okay, so I don't know if, so I don't know if Daniel has an update, like if until October 10th is sufficient time, or if we do need more time. I just haven't had any information recently from the investigative side, so I don't know where we are. But I understand from Anna that she can administratively approve temps now, but for her to approve, I think she needs something from the investigative side.
Mr. Sato, did you have any comments that you would like to give in this matter? You don't have to, but if you do have any. No. No. Okay. Oh, looks like TV does. Okay.
Supervising Investigator Daniel Sato, the matter before you is a special. I can't really comment on the temp and the status due to the ongoing investigation.
Still in the investigative stage. That's all you can say.
Well, is till October 10th sufficient time?
Can't really comment as it's ongoing.
So I don't know if you guys can appreciate the position that puts me in though. So I don't know how much time to ask for. And then if we pay $90 a day, I feel like we're in this black hole of kind of like a purgatory situation.
Commissioners, any comments? So while the temp is of course pending, they are going to have to pay for specials if they want liquor license or liquor to be served. And that's what this application is attempting to do. There's of course a cost with a special application that a temporary application wouldn't necessarily have on a daily basis. Any comments from the commissioners?
And have we in the past refunded the unused dates of the special once granted?
I believe we have.
Yes, you can authorize that, either a refund or a credit to some other expenditure related to this matter.
I believe we've refunded for unused. I don't know. If
Yeah,
we've
for
refunded
unused.
For an entire application.
Well, since the special license fee is set by rule, that is technically waivable by you.
Would something like that alleviate the black hole-ness of?
That would, because then I think what we could do is, if Daniel could guesstimate, I will not hold you to it, because if we're not paying the daily special rate, that's fine. But if we need more time than October 10th, then I would say let's set it out at a time that gives him enough time to do what he needs to do to investigate. But then at the same time, my client isn't under this pressure of, $90 a day and that
And we
sort of
could prorate relative to the number of unused days that you had.
on,
Let's say that you just went to October 30th and he completed and you're ready to go on the 20th, that could be 2/3 of. 20 times.
Oh, yeah, I mean, but I think what we're asking for is that we would not pay the $90 a day because we feel like we've submitted our temp application with sufficient time such that we should have a temp at this point and not even have to be here for this special application.
I see.
When did you submit the? That was back in the summer.
In mid-July, actually it was July 13th, I believe.
I'm trying to think if there's anything in there which gives a time period, right? Because we don't really have anything in there that shows a time period of how long it would take to do something, right? I don't know if we would have the ability to say, well, this is how long it's gonna take and this, and this. I mean, I think we have. If you folks have paid for our special licenses, right, or special days, and then they're not used, I think we've refunded those monies or allotted that funds to be used for other things, but I don't know if there's any actual amount of time listed anywhere. I understand you're saying that from July 13th to now should be enough time, but I don't know if there's a listed time that would say how long that actual process takes.
So back in the day, I mean, you could get a temp in 30 days and you could get a liquor license in like 90. And now the commission is such that, I mean, it's taken me up to a year in some cases to get a license, which would have been unheard of when I first started practicing, but it's kind of become a thing. But at a certain point, it's not tenable for business owners because these costs are incredible.
Yeah, I mean, I think to answer your comment, there is no statutory or administrative rule that requires an application to be processed within a certain period of time. But to Ms. O'Hare's point, traditionally, the application processing time has been much less than it is presently. And I think to your point, we have approved waiver of unused, but I don't know, and Mr. I, you can comment if you are aware, I don't know if we've ever waived the entire fee. I think this would set a precedent for that. Have we ever done that?
In my memory, you've never completely waived a license application fee from the beginning, as opposed to refunding for unused days. So just when an applicant submits for a series of special general licenses, they pay upfront for all of those days. So that this is money that's already been expended. So to the extent that they are unused, that's where the commission typically has exercised its discretion to approve the refund for the unused days, or sometimes unused days are tacked on at the end. You've also done that, where the start was somehow delayed and they just asked permission to add those 3 days or whatever they are at the initial published term.
And I do appreciate your client's position. Now that processing times are taking longer than they did previously. Licensees or applicants have to get creative, and getting creative is costing extra money that they wouldn't have had to otherwise.
Yeah.
So we understand that predicament.
And I don't necessarily think these are related, but I mean, Investigator Cruz is the investigator on this. And I've recently experienced him investigating something that it turned out he wasn't even supposed to be investigating, right? It was an enforcement investigation, but being undertaken by him as a licensing officer. And I just don't want the same application to linger in that similar situation. And I think on one hand, if we have to pay for specials, we have to pay for them, but then I think we need some assurance that our application is moving forward on the temp side. So if we pay for days until the 10th, for example, then I'd like to know that we're going to have our temp on or before September 10th, right? Because then I know what I'm paying for, as opposed to just like a blank check, $90 a day till forever.
But I think we said that but we would be open to prorating back to you any of the unused days if you paid up front. This additional.
But how many days would I pay
Yeah, I
upfront?
think
Is
that's what you're saying.
am I paying 100 days upfront?
Yeah.
Is it just another 10 days?
Yeah.
And I appreciate that Daniel can't say because it's an ongoing investigation, but again, where does that leave me and my client? But I'm happy to let him investigate for an unlimited amount of time if we're not paying $90 a day, right? Like, I'm happy. I'm like totally great.
That's fine. I mean, there are two two potential motions before us. One would be to approve the application and provide for the special license. And then the second potentially would be for a waiver of however we want to construct that. I guess as to the first, Ms. Ojiro, you set this through the 10th. The 10th isn't that far away.
Yeah.
I guess one question would be, speaking out loud, what happens if you get a week into this and realize that the 10th is possibly not sufficient? There won't be
Yeah.
a time to submit a second special.
Well, that's why I was hoping I could get some information today at this hearing so we could pick an appropriate day time, because my previous inquiries haven't rendered me any surety. So I thought maybe here with you all, we could like pick a day. That's good. That works for everybody.
But if I'm understanding Mr. Sato correctly, that's not feasible because the investigation is ongoing and we probably don't have enough information to say this particular day will be sufficient.
Yes, and I've tried to like assist with that. I said, like, what questions do they have? Like, what investigation is ongoing? Could we provide more information? But it seems like there's nothing else from us that he needs. But again, I just don't know where that leaves me though.
And I believe we're not meeting on the 12th, is that correct?
Well, then it's the only time we
are
meet.
meeting.
So if she runs her specials from the 1st to the 10th and runs out of specials
She would only be able to be approved for anything
on the 12th, because that's a special, and I would have to think about this and talk to Corporation Counsel whether or not you can on the record delegate authority for us to permit her to amend the existing dates or term subject to conditions. I'm gonna have to talk to her though.
I would move that we go into executive session for the following reasons: to consult with the board's attorney or questions and issues on matters pertaining to the board's powers, duties, privileges, immunities, and liabilities.
Second.
Then a motion and a second, any objections or reservations? Hearing seeing none, I also vote aye. The motion carries. We are now in executive session.
Oh, no, I thought you were done. Oh,
Okay, we are back on the record. Thank you for allowing us time to meet in executive session. In executive session, we looked at the applicable rules related to this matter and the factual summary surrounding this matter. Just a few comments on the record, Mr. Hero. We do understand the predicament that your client and many others have right now. The processing time for pretty much all requests and applications have been significantly longer in the recent past and present. And that's challenging. We totally understand that. And we believe that things need to be examined and changed in order to allow that processing time to go back to much closer to what it used to be. And to that end, there are a lot of factors involved in making the processing time longer. Procedural policy, even the fact that we only have 3 members and quorum issues are complicating these matters as well. We're working to resolve those issues. We're working on getting 2 commissioners back on, working to look at policies, training, hiring other staff. All of these things we believe will go a long way in helping processing time for applications. Obviously, those things can't be done tonight. It doesn't help your client in the immediate term tonight. But we do want to at least show our appreciation and understanding for what licensees and applicants are going through right now in terms of processing time. Concerning the matter at hand, we have 2 considerations. One is the approval of your application as stated, and it's presently stated to have special licenses through October 10th. Just for the record, our next hearing is due to quorum issues is October 12th. So the earliest something could be heard for your temp is on the 12th. We don't have any hearing scheduled prior to that date because of quorum issues.
Oh, but do we need a hearing? Because I thought you said they were admin.
It's discretionary. It's discretionary with administration whether to refer it back, similar to we have administrative or delegated authority to approve nonprofit specials without a hearing. Very frequently, we do put them back before the commission if there's special circumstances. So when the investigation and the report for the temporary is concluded, we'll determine whether or not we're going to use that discretion to move something to the 12th.
And without jumping to conclusions, I would note, and you can correct me if I'm my misunderstanding, but this temp was for a hotel license based on a previous liquor license of a restaurant license. So
That's
we,
based on the rule waiver that we got.
based on the rule waiver, so there are complicating matters in this case that may push it to a hearing rather than an internal approval, since that waiver, for lack of a better word, I don't believe it's a waiver, but just an approval.
It's an
is at the
interpretation
commission
of the
level.
statute. Yeah.
So I don't know if that could be administratively approved without the commission looking at
Could I extend to the 12th perchance?
it. Perchance. Ms. Harai, do you have any other possible details to illuminate this?
Yeah, just to read the observation that the current term of the special general license application is October 1 to October 10. The next hearing we have is October 12th, and it is only at a hearing that action can be taken on a special general license, and that's set statutorily. So in order, the applicant could make the request to amend the existing application, which is already identified by number, to include that span of days to get to the 12th as a cushion or a safety. And then I would ask that that be subject to the normal types of application requirements imposed for those the additional days. So she would make the request, we would entertain that request and approve or not approve. And then then we would set this for or we would have it the approval extend to those extra 2 days, but she would need to make the request.
Thank you, Mr.
Mr. Here, I just also would like to note that I will be attending remotely. And if perchance something happens in that remote hearing, the next hearing is
November 2.
Oh, wow.
And so, and I apologize, as you can see, we're short
No, I
staffed and
mean,
we
yeah,
won't have
it's-
quorum.
So I realize the difficulty with that. I mean, it sounds like what you're saying is though the safe thing is to actually have the specials go to the second possibly.
Now, of course, that would incur additional fees subject to the second item that we are talking about this afternoon, which is your request.
Yeah.
But yes,
I mean, just in a vacuum, though, it sounds like the safest thing to do regardless of cost is to do the second, because yeah, like you don't have internet or something and there's no quorum, then we'd kind of be like SOL. I won't say what
Yes.
that stands for.
It would make it difficult to move forward.
Yes.
Yes.
and of course, we can't advise you on that, but we do want to make those notes for the record so
Yeah.
that you understand.
Can I request that verbally here?
Yeah, this would be the only environment because we are not able to add on that request. But the commission can entertain a request from you on the record to extend the term of any approval to whatever dates, subject to the normal requirements imposed on special license applicants.
If I could please amend my request to November 2nd and have all those days subject to the special license requirements.
Commissioners, do we have a motion on approval of the special?
I move we approve. I have to read it. Application number 24-00571-1 through an amended amount to include November 2nd, 2023. Is that correct?
The number.
Just, yeah, there's,
Before?
it's 24-00571-1 through 24-00571-4 inclusively.
Inclusively, but I
With the
thought she
change.
wanted to amend it to
With the
include.
amendment.
with
Yeah,
the
with
amendment.
the amendment, yes.
So I will second the motion that was put forward with the amendment.
We've got a motion and a second. Any objections, reservations? Hearing and seeing none, I also vote aye. The motion carries. Applications number 24-00571-1 through 24-00571-4 as amended to include dates to and through November 2nd, 2023 with the general special license requirements applicable to all dates is approved. So then we have the question of your request for waiver of fees. Again, I would at least at first emphasize that we do understand the predicament that your client is in and the fact that they have to potentially pay through this special license additional funds in order to cover the gap. I believe, however, that's to waive all of the fees would set a precedent that we haven't gone into at this point as a commission. And it's really up to the client whether on a cost benefit analysis, they feel it's best for them to continue with this strategy or do something different. So I would be inclined to certainly waive any unused dates, especially now that you've extended it to November 2nd. But as to dates used, we would require the $90 per day fee for those used dates. That's just an inclination. I certainly don't have the full vote on that. So commissioners, any comments or questions?
I agree with your comments. Did you want to say something?
Yeah, so I do hear about, I hear your concern about setting precedent, but actually I think this case, and I mean, you guys know me, I've come in and paid for specials, no problem. I think this case is distinguishable and is a very different situation. And I'm actually going to be coming in soon for specials for another hotel property, and we're just going to straight up be paying those because that's a different situation from this. So the distinguishing factors here, I think, are that we applied for a temp and this property should be able to have a temp. And once we run out of temp, and to be honest, like I kind of envision we're going to run out of the temp and have to buy specials on the back end of this thing because our permanent's probably not going to be processed given the current timeframes we're looking at here. And when that happens, when I run through my second temp, you know, we always pay, we're happy to pay. But I feel like these guys haven't even gotten the opportunity to have their, you know, kind of like free temp period before they start paying their specials, which is why I think this in particular, I feel like we have a really good distinct case to waive these fees. Whereas, like I said, I'll be coming in next month and that client is going to just pay because they don't have any reason to not pay.
I mean, my comments are going to be, you know, as I think, Commissioner Buckley stated, right? We are, and we have provided individuals in the back end that didn't use their days to be reimbursed those days. I also, feel the same way Commissioner Buckley does, that these days that you're going to use are paid with that fee. And that's how that process works. So I'm inclined to stick with the current process of paying for the days, and we will reimburse you or reissue you back the funds for the days that are unused.
So there's something before the commission of which none of us will make a motion to approve. So does that?
You would have to make a motion to deny the request, right, for the waiver of the fees. Am I correct?
No, if you can't take action on it, then the request dies.
And we obviously can't make a motion to waive fees for unused days because we don't know how many of those days it would be. So that wouldn't be anything we would vote on.
Mhm. It's not actually be taken.
No, so you could just approve the specials, but just say you have
Oh, I
to
thought-
pay.
I think we did.
We've already approved the special.
Oh,
Yes,
got it.
through
Through
November
second.
2.
Yeah.
I don't know if the commission wants to take action, although we've been doing it routinely, is that with respect to unused days, that the fee can be
Oh,
refunded.
yeah.
Can we preemptively do that, even though
Yes.
days have not been unused yet?
Yes,
Okay, so we can make a motion to.
for any
waive
unused
any
days,
for
whatever
unused days.
that may be.
And then administratively, you would handle that matter.
Yes,
Yeah, then I'll just send a letter on the back end.
Yeah.
I can make that motion. I can make a motion that to approve to reimburse any unused days on the special that was just approved.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any objections, reservations? Hearing and seeing none, I also vote aye. The motion carries. There will be a waiver of fees for any unused days pertaining to applications number 24-00571-1 through 24-00571-4 inclusively.
Thank you, guys.
Calling agenda item number 4, applications number 24-00542-1 through 24-00542-30 from Crazy Honokai Inc.
Afternoon, Chair, members of the commission, it's Hirai Robert Uyoka on behalf of Crazy Honokai doing business as the Bluefish Waikiki. Present to my right, Mr. Sean Kim, he's a general manager, first name SEAN, last name KIM. This is a request for a special liquor license. We do have a pending restaurant application. Bluefish Waikiki is a Japanese sushi restaurant. We do have existing restaurants in Texas, Colorado, and Seoul, Korea. This would be our first restaurant in Hawaii. This would be in the Waikiki Beach Walk area, on the second floor.
Thank you, Mr. Uyoka. Commissioners?
I have no questions.
I move we approve application number 24-00542-1 through 24-00542-30 inclusive.
Second.
There's been a motion and a second. Any objections, reservations? Hearing and seeing none, I also vote aye. The motion carries. Application number 24-00542-1 through 24-00542-30 inclusively are approved.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Calling agenda item number 5, applications number 24-00545-1 through 24-00545-30 inclusively from Ohana Hale Liquor LLC. Good afternoon.
Hi.
Will you please state your names for the record?
Christopher Unu.
And I'm Raymond Donato.
Okay, so this is for a special license for dates from October to the end of the year.
Yes.
2 floors?
Sorry?
2 floors? 2 floors for your project?
Yes, 2 floor and the outside also, yeah.
Is it a restaurant concept?
Market, marketplace, yeah.
Commissioners?
Beg your pardon? Okay.
I move we approve application number 24-00545-1 through 24-00545-30 inclusive.
Second.
Been a motion and a second. Any objection, reservation? Hearing seeing none, I also vote aye. The motion carries. Applications number 24-00545-1 through 24-00545-30 inclusively are approved. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Calling agenda item number 6, application number 23-01817 from Chongqing Han Pot Inc.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair, members of the commission, Keith Kiyuchi for the applicant. Read the investigative report. We have no additions to the investigative report. Understand his evaluation of fare. This is the old Pacific Cafe, more recently E&O Trading, the second floor of Ward Center.
Commission?
I have no questions.
I move we approve application number 23-01817.
Second.
We've got a motion and a second. Any objections, reservations? Hearing seeing none, I also vote aye. The motion carries. Application number 23-01817 is approved.
Thank you.
Thank you. Calling agenda item number 7, application number 24-00582 from HSI Honolulu Joint Venture Company. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Robert Uyoka on behalf of HMS Host. I'm present to my right, Mr. Christopher Kadohiro. He is the Director of Operations, first name CHRISTOPHER, last name KADOHIRO. We have no changes to the investigator's report. This is for a catering liquor license for it's kind of like a temporary bar in the new Maka concourse. We have been operating the catering license before that. It is we're requesting from October 8th to January 5th.
Thank you. Commissioners.
I move to approve application number 24-00582.
Second.
There's been a motion and a second. Any objections, reservations? Hearing seeing none, I also vote aye. The motion carries. Application number 24-00582 is approved.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Calling agenda item number 8, application number 24-00595 from 17A Productions LLC.
Good afternoon, commissioners. My name is Angelina Khan, ANGELINA KHAN, member of 17A Productions.
Yeah. So this is for a special off-premise catering license in October?
Yes.
Is this a Halloween?
Yes,
How about-
it is.
Mission?
I have no question.
And I move we approve application number 24-00595.
Second.
There's been a motion and a second. Any objections, reservations? Hearing seeing none, I also vote aye. The motion carries. Application number 24-00595 is approved.
Thank you.
So Obake will have a good theme
Yes.
going for us.
Thank you.
Calling agenda item number 9, request number 24-00600 from Club 550 Inc. Club 550 Inc. Agenda item number 9. Okay. There's no appearance for request number 24-00600, agenda item number 9. This is involving a request for approval to renew its liquor license for fiscal year 2023 through 2024. It was supposed to be renewed in June of 2023. We are well past June at this point.
I'm sorry, can I come forward then?
Of course, please.
I wasn't here for that application, but I do represent the previous owner for Club 550. And I have been assisting the new owners to try to get the insurance that's what's the holdup on renewing the liquor license. So I know what the issue is. So I've reached out to my contacts. For some reason, I don't know what's going on with the insurance industry right now, but I
I've
have
heard this a
several
few times, yeah.
other applicants that are having a difficulty obtaining insurance. And this is one of them. So I've reached out to 2 or 3 of my contacts, trying to get the insurance so that they can pick up the license. They've also reached out to numerous other insurance companies and agents, trying to get someone who's willing to get the coverage so they can pick up the license. Because I believe the only thing outstanding for that applicant license is the insurance, a certificate of insurance.
Mhm.
So I have been in contact with the current owner of Club 550. I mean, I don't know why they're not here, but that is the reason why.
And sorry, we all know you, but could you state your name? For
Oh, I'm sorry, Robin Melchor.
Yeah, Ms. Melcher, I've heard the same from a lot of people in the community right now. I don't know why the insurance agencies are so difficult to
I
Get a
don't
hold of,
understand. Or it's so expensive, extremely expensive.
Mhm.
It's like ridiculous.
I'd also just note for the record that Ms. Melcher is not the representative for the licensee on this matter.
Correct.
This is
I-
just for
I
information
am
purposes.
the authorized agent for the previous owner, but it's under Club 550. So technically I don't know if it still runs together, but I know why the reason they requesting the request to renew their license after
Mhm.
the June 30 date.
Given that information, commissioners, we could choose to continue the matter and give them another crack at it.
We could set it for the October 12th agenda.
Mhm.
Can we set it for the November
November
2nd one,
2nd.
just so that we don't pile up stuff?
Okay.
online.
I mean, if they surface suddenly and request to go on the October 12th, we will do that, but we'll go ahead and schedule for November 2.
Okay, so just to clarify, yeah. So if we are able, or they are able to get their insurance and the certificate of insurance, does that mean they have to wait till November 2nd in order for their request to renew after June 30 be heard? So they wouldn't be able to operate until after November 2nd? Is that what it is?
That's correct. So
Yeah.
if that happens, they could try and get on to the October 12th calendar, but unfortunately with quorum issues, we have only
Right.
one hearing in October, and then the next hearing thereafter is November 2nd. So
Right.
there's a few weeks, obviously without hearings that they wouldn't be able to get onto a calendar.
Okay. So is there any way to approve their request now so that if they do get the insurance?
Would you be able to get if this was put to the end of the agenda with everything else, get them to send in authorize you to act on their behalf?
You know, I think when I did the stock transfer, I do believe I do have a signed authorization in the file for Club 550.
Do we have any ability to
I-
verify?
The licensing supervisor is gonna go
Run
check.
out the door.
Right.
He's gonna go
Um,
check because actually I looked also, which is why I identify Renier Abero as that was the person who submitted the request, and is, as my recollection is designated as the authorized rep for 550, so he'll check.
Right, so yes,
So
I've been
maybe we
dealing
can
with. Green.
Recall this matter in about
Okay.
3 minutes because
Oh,
we're
okay.
getting
Yeah.
down to the end of the calendar, but
All right.
that might give them enough time to.
Okay.
So you can do crouching lion.
Yeah, so we can do the next one, which is mine.
Yeah, you can say right where you're seated. Calling agenda item number 10, request number 24-00607 from Advanced Fresh Concepts Food Service Corp.
Good afternoon, Chair, Vice Chair, Commissioner Robin Melcher on behalf of the licensee. And we're requesting to renew their liquor license after the June 30 date.
Okay.
So the license is currently in safekeeping and we got approval to renew the license. And we thought when we submitted the application, everything was submitted. The certificate of the certificate of good standing was inadvertently not included. So since then, I have submitted the certificate of good standing, so everything is in place for the license renewal. So I request that the waiver to renew the license after the June 30 deadline.
Okay, so we can confirm that all the paperwork is in.
Yeah, we would not issue the renewed license except, but for checking off those items.
Okay, I move we approve request number 24-00607.
Second.
The motion and a second, any objections or reservations? Hearing seen none, I also vote aye. The motion carries. Request number 24-00607 is approved.
Thank you.
I see Mr. Sato is back, so we'll recall agenda item number 9, request
No.
number 24
So it's expired. Okay,
600.
okay,
Licensing supervisor Sato confirmed that Ms. Melchor is not listed as an authorized, current authorized rep for 550.
Is not, okay, so you couldn't make any formal request, but I do believe the commission still, if it wanted, would have the authority to approve pending a certificate of insurance if we so chose. Is that correct? Even without an
You could act based upon the written submission that was made.
Right.
That request, yes.
Or I can tell by Commissioner Hollander's face.
I mean, the
or
only
we
thing
could-
that I
Doesn't matter.
would. I mean, I had a couple of questions for the individual that sent in the information in regards to their comments that they wrote in the email. I kind of wanted to have a few more ideas of what miscommunication they have, because obviously, as we've talked here, we want to make this administration and commission better and
right,
to get ideas of what they're getting or what licensees are having happen gives us the ability to get that training or get that better education going. And so I'm inclined to say if we can extend or reschedule it, I would say on the 12th, October 12th, barring whether or not Commissioner Hung is able to make the meeting or not, because if they do get their insurance, and it is at least scheduled there, they could come here and still get it approved unless he has an issue,
right,
right? And even if he does, then we would have to state all those people would need to be moved to November 2nd anyway.
right.
I believe, am I correct?
Okay.
I'm correct, or if I'm correct. That gives them the ability to come
Okay,
and get it done in 2 weeks. I know it's 2 weeks, but
so, okay, well, I mean, like I said, I've submitted the applications, not only for this one, for several other. And they are taking so long to even get back to me that I've had to reach out to several, hoping somebody will
Mhm.
get back to me and let me know, hey, we finally was able to get coverage. And, unfortunately, Club
Yeah.
550 is not the only one I'm having issues with, but.
and
Okay,
I'm truly sorry about the coverage and that's for the problem of not getting coverage. That's not more my question is more
right,
in regards to who they talked to and what they were told so that we can get that better
right,
meshed out
right.
within here.
Right,
So
I know he
that's-
mentioned he was getting kind of whatever.
Seemed like there was miscommunication somewhere and we want to try to
Somewhere,
figure
right,
that out better.
Right,
So,
okay,
Or in lieu of their appearance, they could just send in an authorized, it could be a limited authorized agent form covering that October 12th, and they would not need to appear themselves.
oh, okay, well, I will talk to them anyways, okay, all right, thank you.
Okay, so agenda item number 9 is continued to the October 12th hearing. Calling agenda item number 11, request number 24-00619 from YHB Waikiki LLC.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair, members of the commission, Keith Kyuchi for the licensee. I don't need till November 30th. I need till tomorrow because I just brought in the tax clearance today.
Okay, well, we can approve it until November 30th and give you
That's
plenty of
fine.
time to walk through the.
That's why maybe I'll take the tax clearance and do some, I don't.
Commissioner?
no question.
I move we approve request number 24-00619.
Second,
Been a motion and a second in the objection to reservations, hearing seen none, I also vote aye. The motion carries. Request number 24-00619 is approved. Thank you. Moving into other business, calling agenda item number 12, liquor administrator notice of hearing order to show cause for LCA 23-0003.
Oh, good. You have appearances today.
Hello, Chair, Vice Chair, members of the Commission, Emmanuel Zibakalam here on behalf of Blind Ox LLC. To my right is the owner. I'll let him introduce himself, for the record.
Asa Ikeda, ASAIKEDA.
And We can answer any questions you may have.
I think maybe starting with a summary, this has been ongoing for a while, and there's been a few hearings that we've continued, so maybe just a status update from the licensee.
Of course. Would you be able to do a summary of, I guess, the reasons up until now that we haven't been able to execute said license? Being the permitting and such.
Yeah, the permitting from the city, currently we have like two parcels. One is commercial, the other is a residential lot. And the residential lot, we're doing a zone change to make it commercial, so that way we could drive vehicles from that property onto the commercial lot. So we've been in process with that since I believe 2018, and so we're still trying to get that zone change approved by the city. And since then, yeah, we just continue going through the process, yeah.
And do you still have control over the premises at this point? If the zoning went through to be able to open up an establishment?
Yes. So he is the owner of both properties.
Commissioners? Any questions or comments for?
Okay, so I guess I have a question in regards to, so currently it's been since 2018, the zoning has not changed. If the zoning does not change, let's say they decide not to change your zoning. Do you have plans to use the other commercial zoned lot or zoned area to use the license within? I guess, because right now what I'm hearing is the reason we don't want to, we want to continue to have the license but not enacted is because I want to wait till the residential zoned area becomes commercial so I can move vehicles there. I mean, I don't know how long the city takes for that. I don't know what the process is. Let's say that residential lot never gets zoned as commercial. The commercial lot that you do have, I'm assuming that's where you want to use to put your liquor establishment and then park cars on the other side, right? If that never happens, what is the intent or plan here? Because it's 2018 through 2023. If we have another 4 or 5 years that it doesn't get zoned, you're still going to want to maintain the same process. So I just want to make sure extending something, there's going to be, you know, some intention at some point to use that area for that. That's all I'm looking for. Is an understanding of what happens if it never becomes residential. Or if it never gets changed from residential to commercial.
The building right now is currently in the office zoning, so right now it can't be changed to like a liquor establishment or a restaurant unless we have the parking and the loading capability. So currently, as is, the lot, the way it's built, and you know, in Wildlights, the properties are kind of like grandfathered in with stuff, so you can't put a loading dock in that specific area. So yeah, that's kind of where we stand with that.
Okay, I don't really know Wildlight that well. I'm just saying, for me, I don't know how long it takes to rezone something. And if it's been 5 years, I don't know if you will ever get a rezoning. I don't know that answer. And so that's the only reason why I'm asking.
Well, in Wildlight, so all of Wildlight except for that one residential lot is zone commercial. So if you go up and down Wildlight, everything is commercial except there's one, you know, area, and that's why actually we purchased that lot, was to, you know, rezone it to commercial. And so,
Okay.
having said that, I mean, I think it's perhaps the person that I used back in 2018 to now, maybe he didn't do his job well, which I just found out recently. Maybe, you know, some of the applications he put in isn't there. So hopefully we can, you know, remedy this with other alternative, you know.
Well, that gives me more clarity. So thank you.
It's been 5 years. Do you have, I know it's hard with TPP, but do you have any indication of where they are in this process or how far off you may be from getting a determination on this one?
I can speak to that point. I've had discussions over the past week or so with the owner, and we've taken a look at what is currently at DPP, what was put there. There are still a few spaces that we can look, but to date, we haven't been able to find the application. So we are looking to remedy this space as soon as possible. There are items being neighborhood board meetings and such that have taken place, which leads me to believe there is some sort of traction. But without being able to, specifically identify the application number, because the one that was provided when checked did not pan out. So we will have to do a little bit more digging. I imagine it would take another week or so before we're able to truly find where this application is and how to proceed appropriately so that we can get them ready for business.
So can we get a written update of what the status is of what you found within, I don't know, a month or two or
Of course,
November 2.
November 2.
November 2? That'll be a big day.
More than happy to provide the commission with a written update on what we're able to find from DPP.
Thank you.
Okay.
Do we need to take action at any start?
You could just direct to continue. Oh, sorry.
Oh.
What is the, what is the applicant's desire of what the status is of the places? Because at this point, you guys have withdrawn. What does the applicant want?
We're gonna keep it.
Yeah, I mean, I prefer to keep it, because we went through that whole process. I believe it was at like 2020, something like that. 2018 or 2018, or yeah, we went through that whole process and wanted to go forward with it, but we didn't know how long the zone change would take, and we didn't expect it to be this long. So ideally, yeah, if we could not be withdrawn, that'd be ideal. So I don't have to go through the whole process again.
So this is an order to show cause. So at some point, the commission will have to determine, because of your prior action was to withdraw the approval, which brought the landowner in. At some point, you have to make a decision on the status of the application. I don't know if it's now or if it's later, but at some point, you would have to decide whether or not the applicant has met the burden of the, why they should not be denied, or why the commission should deny the application.
If it's acceptable to the commission, I'd like to, I guess, recommend if we can maybe not take action until you've reviewed the report that we submit on the status of the TPP application and the status of rezoning. More than happy to take that time before you guys act, unless you feel a certain way at the moment.
That would, I imagine, simply be to continue this matter to the November 2nd calendar and make a determination at that time based on a supplemental report by the applicant.
I'd like to move to go into executive session for the following reason: to consult with the board's attorney on questions or issues on a matter of pertaining to the board's powers, duties, privileges, immunities, and liability.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any objections, reservations? Hearing and seeing none, I also vote aye. The motion carries. We are now in executive session. We are back on the record. Thank you for allowing time for us to go into executive session. Just as a brief matter for the record, Mr. Zabakalam, you appeared in previous hearings on this matter, but not as an authorized agent, just with information to share with us. You're now before us. Are you now officially a registered and authorized agent for the applicant?
I have not submitted the paperwork yet, but I have discussed it with the applicant and I believe I'll be moving forward as an authorized agent.
Okay, thank you. We are before us today is an order to show cause. The approval of the application has been withdrawn and we are now addressing the order to show cause. Given the nature of an order to show cause, we do want to hear a little bit more out of the applicant. And so we will continue the matter to a future calendar date in order to give you time to prepare a report to present to us. At that hearing, we can address a little bit in more detail the order to show cause and then what to do with the withdrawn applications. Any questions from the applicant?
No.
So agenda item number 12 is continued to the November 2nd calendar date.
Thank you, commissioners.
Thank you. Calling agenda item number 13, request number 24-00620 from Keith Kiuchi on behalf of Fuji Japanese Restaurant.
And good afternoon, Mr. Chair, members of the commission, Keith Kiuchi on behalf of the applicant. This is a request for a waiver of the 5-day rule for temporary license. This is the old Monterey Bay Canners restaurant, the one that overlooks the Watercress Farm. And there is no intervening tenant.
When were they last in?
They closed right after COVID. Actually, what happened is the license expired on June 30th, 2020. They closed down for COVID and never reopened.
Commissioners?
I have no questions.
I move we approve request number 24-00620.
Second,
There's been a motion and a second, and the objections, reservations, hearing seeing none, I also vote aye. The motion carries. Request number 24-00620 is approved.
So I want to let the commission know what the problem is with insurance. There are
Please.
only 2 agencies in town that will write insurance for Hostess, Strip, Cabaret, or anything that presents itself as a nightclub. That's Mutual Underwriters and Business Insurance. The difficulty that the licensees are going to have is because insurance companies have been burned for underestimating gross sales, and the premium gets charged on gross sales. The insurance companies are charging more for premiums. So that's what the result is. That's what you're going to see. There's nothing anybody's going to be able to do to change the marketplace, except stay very close to one of those 2 insurance agencies. So
We appreciate that, Mr. Kiuchi, and I've also seen that extended beyond to even restaurants, bars, breweries. They're receiving a lot of pushback.
Yeah,
as
they
well,
are,
so
because it's also based on gross sales. So you're getting the same issue.
Oh, Mr. Kiuchi, how do you mean by burned on gross sales?
What happens is, it used to be that they would charge them a premium, and at the end of the insurance year, they would have to report what their gross sales were. So they owe the insurance company a difference, and then the licensee would not pay the difference.
I see.
So that's why I mean they get burned on gross sales. I got one client now who cannot renew their license because they can't get insurance. And they had one of the 2 agencies that really write it, but it's been a challenge. And the problem is that when they get quotes, like Ms. Melchor said, the quotes are really high, and they're high for that reason.
Because they want more of their money up front rather
Right.
than owing at the end.
And that's, to be honest, that's understandable under the market conditions. But Chair Buckley's right. I've also seen it with restaurants where the rates have gone up. It's just something, you're not going to change the insurance industry, obviously, so you gotta just be able to get clients through it.
Thank you very much.
Okay,
Thank you. Commissioners, may I have a motion for agenda item number 14 through agenda item number 16?
motion of acceptance of plea and adoption of decision and order for agenda item number 14 through 16 inclusively.
Second,
There's been a motion and a second. Any objections, reservations? Hearing seeing none, I also vote aye. The motion carries. acceptance of plea and adoption of decision in order is entered for agenda item number 14 through 16 exclusively. Recalling agenda item number 1. Application number 22-24354 for Park Event Services LLC.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair, Commissioners.
Could you please restate your name?
Sure. Devin Nikoba, Emmanuel Zabakalam, also Raymond Ho Jr. and Mr. Dave Park.
Thank you, gentlemen. We have come full circle.
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you for allowing us the time to review this document and to
Yes.
approach it during this hearing. I just want to say that I appreciate the work that the investigators do along with the commission in regards to reviewing this document. Additionally, though, I would like to say for the record, I apologize. We're looking at approximately 16 months on this application. I would say that was when we first began discussing it with the Liquor Commission. Additionally, we received this report 3:53 today. Obviously 7 minutes before our hearing for the approval of the application. I would just like to say for the record that, if this does not get approved and we're forced to not serve starting tomorrow, there's a little bit of disservice to the staff and, the individuals and such in that space, just due to the timeliness of the document. That being said, I did have the opportunity to review each and every point that Investigator Walker, and I'm sorry, I'm referencing supplemental licensing investigative report signed by William Walker, reviewed by Daniel Sato. It's unfortunate to say, but I believe the majority, if not the entirety of these statements are false. I went online and checked each of the TMKs. And I understand, I think, how it came to this, because if you do a real property search and you go to the Honolulu real property tax site, you have to click on a drop-down menu to see the lessees. And I don't believe that the drop-down menu was clicked, because as I went on in the past 20 minutes or so, I clicked on each one and all the lessees that were stated in here as not being there are there. And so, the discrepancy there is just kind of astounding, as it's multiple points. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 8 to be exact.
Sorry to interrupt, are you referencing page 2 at the top where it
Yes.
talks about the state of?
Yes.
Exactly. Page 2, TMK 2100101300001 down to the last statement of that section. Additionally, when I reviewed the TMKs on the master list that were mailed out by the applicant that he believes were not there, this is where the discrepancies are going to come up when you have applications that sit longer than I would say 8 months or so, because people do move. There are spaces that get absorbed into others. These specific spaces are all properties owned by the state, Department of Harbors, I'm sorry. And so, there were these TMK parcels that were laid within the current parcel, because originally when the maps were drawn and put into the system, they probably were separate for some reason. That being said, between the time that we submitted our application and now, there's a very possible reason that, a very possible thing that these spaces were absorbed into the larger parcel, which was included in our mailing, as was the fee owner of that parcel. I would like to state that the commission under 281 does have power over all forms. That being said, just out of review, if all of these items were correct, and I'm saying this as an if, because I would like to dispute the majority, if not all of them, we would have still met statutory obligations for this license. We would have exceeded those in regards to mailing. So I think it's unfortunate that, we have to kind of walk through this being provided at 7 minutes before the hearing. And because there isn't the opportunity for both sides to sit down and kind of click through the real property tax, now we're faced with the decision, or I should say you're faced with the decision of putting out workers for the next 2 weeks based off items that are most, in my opinion, not factual, or to unfortunately, go against that. And this kind of speaks to the larger point of these mail outs. There's 40 some odd days of comment period that the investigators have to review whether or not they were all mailed to and the master lists are complete. As I stated before, we received this 3:53 p.m. today. And on top of that, I'll go on record to say I believe a majority of it is false. If you'd like me to pull up one on my phone to show you that, I'm more than happy to, but I leave that to the discretion of the commission. And I'm sorry, the last thing I'd like to note is that on all the subsequent pages in which the real property tax information was looked at, you can see very clearly that on the owner information, there's owner names and there's a little box with a plus on it, which will provide you with the additional fee owners and lessees for that parcel.
So am I correct to understand that your list included, in your opinion, all of the owner names that are listed in those TMKs, including any that are in a drop-down menu? Is that, do I understand that correctly?
Yes, as of when we submitted the application, correct. And I would also note that the majority of the questions regarding the mailing is an over mailing, providing too much notice issue, not an under mailing. Of any sort.
The error is an over mailing.
If there is an error, I should say, then it would be over mailing.
I'm looking at your affidavit. We've also attached the supplement, the affidavit that's attached to the supplement, that's the affidavit that is submitted, correct?
Correct.
Do you have any comments, questions?
The commission may go into an executive session for the following reasons: to consult with the board's attorney on questions and issues on a matter pertaining to the board's powers, legal privileges, immunities, and liabilities. Same motion to go into executive session.
Second.
Got a motion second, any objections or resolutions? Hearing none, I also vote aye, the motion carries. We are in executive session. gone.
They would turn on the AC.
Okay.
Okay, we are back on the record. Thank you for providing, allowing us time to meet in executive session. Apologies for the length of time that took. We just have one, follow-up question for you. The mailing list that you provided, that, and I'm going to point to exhibit B3 because there's a few pages. But I'm going to focus on B3. This states at the top of your table.
I apologize. I have a supplemental report that only goes up to D2.
D2?
D2.
This is B.
B, I'm sorry. I apologize.
Okay,
I was like, ah.
I know it's getting very late. B3, B as in blank. The table says Park Event Services LLC condo and co-ops, and there are 3 listed there under 3 separate TMKs. And 2 addresses and 1 address as undefined. The condo master states 2 of those condos have the same name, State of Hawaii Department of Transportation Harbors Division, and then the 3rd is Aloha Tower Development Corp. Then I would refer you to your affidavit, and that's exhibits D as in dog, D1 and D2. On the first page, D1. On your affidavit, you list number of condominiums as 2. And then on D2, the following page, for the mailing, you list again condominium 2 were mailed for 100%. So we just wanted clarification as to why the affidavit seems to indicate there's 2 condominiums and co-ops, whereas your mailer on B3 seems to indicate 3.
Yes, so if you look at the condo master co-ops, you'll notice both of them are the State of Hawaii Department of Transportation Harbors Division. The only applicable mailing address that would accept mail for both of those spaces would be the 79 South Nimitz Highway. And so because it was the same for both, it was mailed once, and that's why there were 2 that went out.
So that explains the, I think you're explaining D2, the mailing of number 2 to.
Yeah, so that's why there were 2 that went out. There, it would be the 79 South Nimitz Highway, Honolulu, Hawaii 96813, and then the 700 Bishop Street, ST 1701, Honolulu, Hawaii 96813 are the 2 separate that went out. The one that went out for the co-op, which I would like to add is in the state building with no residential space. Went to the same address with the same addressee, and so we basically counted it as satisfying them.
And for D1, where we referenced the 2 in under the number of condominiums, did that 2 indicate the number of owners or lessees of record, or did that 2 indicate the total number of condominiums?
It was B1, correct? Chairman,
D1.
B1?
D1, the affidavit of mailing, the first page of the affidavit of mailing.
Let's see here.
So I guess first I would ask the question, under B3, your condo and co-ops, are there 3 condo and co-ops, 3 separate condos and co-ops?
No, they're not. So there, it was just the 2 mailers that went out. This other 2, that is the within. Yeah, so it should be just 2. Yeah, so it's 2 and 2. They're both within 100 feet and they're both within 500 feet. And then on the next page, they're both within 100 feet and they're both within 500 feet.
And notice was mailed to.
And notice was mailed to both, correct.
So I guess I'm still just a little confused, and I apologize. You say there's 2 condos, but there are still 3 listed on your table.
Correct, because there were 3 different TMK numbers. So because there were 3 different TMK numbers, we then listed each one out. The 2 TMKs, I believe, are adjacent to each other. And I believe that they're both State of Hawaii Department of Transportation Harbors Division buildings.
But a condominium is typically defined by the recording of a declaration of condominium property regime. Are there the two that have the same state of Hawaii Department of Transportation Harbor Division, is that one declaration of condominium property regime?
I wouldn't be able to speak to that. The way that we delineate the difference between condominiums and regular spaces while providing these maps is if the Department of Planning and Permitting or the Honolulu Property Real Property Tax space have drop-down menus which list multiple spaces in that one TMK, we would then place that as either a condominium or a co-op. Otherwise, we wouldn't be able to list it appropriately. Generally, they'll say condo master, but let's see here.
But these have 3 different TMKs, so would they be 3 different condominiums?
So it's 3 different TMKs. The 2 TMKs that are state of Hawaii Department of Transportation are adjacent buildings that aren't residential, they're commercial. I imagine that it was originally placed in the DPP system like this for some future reason, but I couldn't speak to what the reason was. That's just how they came up. Because normally I wouldn't list a state of Hawaii Department of Transportation building as a condo or a co-op, because I don't feel like it fits that criteria. That being said, if there is a drop-down menu on it, to be safe, just because of, like I said, whether it's discrepancy or if we're going back and forth on what the definition is, I tend to overmail so that the notice goes.
Okay, so over mail and you send more because of where the mail goes. But if I heard you correctly in the very beginning, we talked about, I only mailed one because it happened to be the same mailing address, but it's 2 separate buildings because they're 2 separate physical addresses, correct? It's because I remember you saying you mailed 2 notices, one to the 79 South Nimitz Highway, because that's the Department of Transportation Harbors Division. And then the second one had the same mailing address, but you didn't mail once down because you said it was already going there for the first one. And then you mailed to the 700 Bishop Street one. But there's technically two condo buildings, even though they're adjacent from each other, they're not in the same address for the Department of Harbors Division, right?
Correct.
So even though there's 3 condos there, on your mailing of affidavit, you listed 2 because you only mailed 2 mailments to those 3 condos.
Correct. I will note that the state of Hawaii Department of Transportation Harbors Division received 1, 2, 3 total notices. Because they are listed in the other spaces as the owners and lessees as well. So the letter that does go out is standard, wouldn't have been any different going to the same address.
I agree that this is a little confusing. If for condominiums, typically that's a statutory regime under Hawaii Revised Statutes, chapter 514B. And that requires the filing of a declaration to indicate what constitutes that property regime. It can be multiple TMKs, so this in theory could be one condominium. However, I do also notice that the mailing address is attention co-op, so it may not be under chapter 514B at all. It might be under co-op rules.
Yeah.
So I'm still trying to determine, I can understand what you're saying about mailing two, because one's going to same address for two. But the list on the affidavit says the total number of cooperatives and the total number of condominiums, not the total number that you can mail on the first page. So that's what I'm trying to reconcile in my mind.
I can understand that. If I would respectfully say that in this instance, if we look at the spirit of the law, you know, I don't believe that any residents, like, you know, we're talking about a state of Hawaii Department of Transportation, like office building that I'm sure we're all aware of and with, as well as the agency getting multiple notices. If the commission does feel that we need to take time to remedy in this space, whether it be the affidavit or what, I would just request maybe if it was possible to get an extension on the special licenses that we have so that we can stay in operation until that's done. However, you know, I think if we look at it in regards to notice and the spirit of the law, we know that there are no individuals in that space that, you know, would likely be condominium residents. But that being said, I totally understand the commission's stance on that. And so that would just be the request I would make otherwise.
And I agree, from a public policy standpoint, the purpose is to provide notice to a sufficient percentage of individuals and businesses in the area so that they can provide opposition or support for the application. I don't, and that's under C1 of the relevant statute we've been talking about, and I don't really have any problems with that requirement. I don't see anything in the record that shows that you didn't satisfy that percentage. And even that policy that stands behind that percentage. So I don't think that's an issue that I'm considering. It's really more of a matter of, is the master list and the affidavit accurate under C3 of that relevant statute? Mr. I just point of order, is it, if we were inclined to say there was more time needed, would we be able to entertain a request to extend the special application here? Or would that require something different that we would not be able to approve at this hearing?
I think because we are unable to amend the agenda, because we only have 3 commissioners and no further hearings until this is not agended either, so I'm gonna look to Corp Counsel. The commission gives administration authority to amend the special license, the existing special license, to include additional days. You know, this is a hard
Wait for
one.
everyone, we understand.
Not on the agenda.
Yeah.
I mean, we don't have enough votes to amend the agenda. So that would be a violation of sunshine.
If I could maybe another posing, would it be possible to perhaps approve the application conditionally and have us return in a 2 to 3 week period for a review? And if all the items are to your satisfaction, or if the commission believes at that time that we can continue, then the license would continue. And if not, the license, we would then deal with that at that point.
I believe under the statute under C3, the affidavit of mailing has to be submitted 7 days in advance of a hearing for the public to review. So I'm not sure that we could do that. Because we have to approve the application. We have to also approve the fact that this affidavit of mailing is correct.
I
So
entirely
I'm
agree.
not sure if that's a possibility, unfortunately.
I would note that there is precedent for that, though, that the commission has previously done under the Black Shamrock license application.
I don't recall of that, Ms. Harai. Do you remember the details of that?
To be honest, I don't recall the details with respect to the affidavit of mailing. I mean, because that was an instance that had multiple
I remember it's an ongoing over.
public hearings.
I believe that you were, I'm sorry, I believe that there was an acting administrator at the time during that. I can speak to it briefly if the commission would like, but I defer to your opinion.
We want, I think, all options on the table right now. So yeah, if you could summarize.
So basically what happened is because there was no violence committed against the form, the commission acted to approve the license under the condition that the form be amended to reflect the appropriate numbers. And the reason being that there were no statutory violations on the form. So because the commission has the power over all forms of documents under 281, the commission approved it, and then the license was issued pending a revised form submitted to the commission. But the declaration of the numbers were stated during the hearing for record. That's my recollection.
I think the only way I can check on that is to pull my old agendas and look for notes on
I will say something, one that was under a different commission. Two, it was based under exceptional circumstances. So I don't know if it's appropriate at this time to, unless you want to file a motion or do something, but I'm not sure if we have enough facts to do that, because we have also done the other things, which is exactly that, which is give you the time to amend the affidavit. And that has been done to other licensees as well. So unless there any exceptional facts here that you can point out. But I understand the last time there have been several continuances on that particular license.
The only exceptional fact that I would bring up is that we are far beyond the timeline of that license application when we approached it and did the and the commission decided to have that ruling. We are, I would say, much further along in the process here in regards to waiting for a license.
Commissioners?
So, Mr. Izzy-Bakalam, my hesitancy is we've made other licensees that have done or made an error on the affidavit that's been posted for public record. Even if it's just the date, we've made them wait the 7 days to correct it and then provide it to us corrected, and we then agree and issue. Now, I do understand the situation that this licensee is in based on the specials and everything else, but I also have my own reservations on maintaining my own consistency with what I've agreed to many other licensees in the past. And so that's my reservations in regards to saying, let's do some of the things you're pointing out. And, you know, hey, I'm here to be here to help the licensees and give them every opportunity to get the license and do their job and do what they want to do. But there's also consistencies that we have to maintain within the three of us. And so I'm just giving my own reservations in regards to these other issues that, or ways that we can figure out how we can work around, because I mean, I don't think any one of us here want to harm licensees' abilities to do or provide the service or provide the license. We're just trying to be consistent in what items we say and how we portray it to the public.
I completely understand, and I thank you for that. I respect it of the commission. In regards to this being an exceptional circumstance, not only the timing, but the fact that this could have been fixed. If, and I don't want to state that, I subscribe to a separate interpretation, because I do think that the license, can be approved. But, even if we did walk down that road hypothetically, this report was provided to us at 3:53 today. Like, if I had 7 days, if I had 2 days, we could have gone to the administration, had discussions, made sure that there were opportunities to continue business and to keep people employed. But the fact that we weren't provided that opportunity, and it leads me to believe that the client has neither their right to liberty nor property, and that's concerning.
And I think over the course of the months that we've been attempting to get the license, our clients, ourselves, we've tried to be as available to the commission as possible. They've asked for multiple redoings of the maps. They've asked us to, we've had both of the members of the company take off from work specifically to go down to make sure that they meet with them. Mr. Zabakalam and myself have also tried to bend over backwards. We've done everything they've asked us to do. And so it was why when we had this problem, I wasn't sure what to do, because our special wins tomorrow.
Can I ask a question? Is the special license that was granted for the aquarium, what is the start term on that one?
Oh, that's actually for a different.
I know.
You also know when it starts.
Oh, I
I
believe
the date it starts.
October, I believe it's October 2nd. Mr. Ho has it, I'm sorry.
October 2, like Monday?
October 1st.
Oh, first.
So January 2.
Well, I have a feeling investigator Sato has an idea where I may be going with this particular inquiry. In terms of, he's giving me a bad face. I know. I'm trying to think of because we can't impact the existing Aloha Tower Marketplace premises under the special. But there is an approved special license issued to the Waikiki Aquarium, whether or not that, and it's that catering concept. That is something I actually, that could be done administratively. We can make it work. What I'm thinking out loud is that because of the way the catering license, because they're not a restaurant. Dang.
Yeah, dispenser.
Yeah, I think I have a question. Okay, so. Sorry, guys, but we are going to say the commission may go into an executive session for the following reasons: to consult with the board's attorneys on questions and issues on a matter pertaining to board's powers, duties, privileges, immunities, and liabilities. I'll entertain a motion to go into an executive session.
Second.
The motion is second, any objections to reservation, hearing seeing none, I also vote aye, the motion carries. We are now.
I'm gonna go pull my old, but.
Okay, we are back on the record. Thank you for allowing us a second time to go into executive session. I will make a few comments and then I will open it up to the commissioners for comments or a type of action. The relevant portion of the statute that we're looking at is chapter 281 57 C3. And I'm going to try and summarize because the section is a bit long. So in pertinent parts, says before the hearing and within 7 business days of having mailed the notices, the applicant shall file with the commission an affidavit that the notices have been mailed in compliance with this subsection. I don't believe there's any dispute that that occurred. There was an affidavit timely filed. It says in addition to the affidavit, the applicant shall include both the master list and I'm paraphrasing and a list of the actual mailing. I don't believe there's any dispute that that occurred. Is that correct?
Yes.
Thank you. What we have noticed is that there appears to be a discrepancy between the master list that lists on exhibit B 3 condominium and co-ops and the affidavit of mailing, which identifies 2 and then states that it was mailed notice to 2. That's on its face appears to contradict the mailing list. Notwithstanding the fact, we have looked at this under the totality of the circumstances and potential prejudices to the public, to the agency, and to the licensee. For the public, as stated previously in this hearing, we believe that there was sufficient notice to satisfy the statutory requirements. And there have been no protests provided at this stage. So we believe the public isn't prejudiced by the error that we find on the affidavit. For the agency, we don't believe that there is significant prejudice due to the fact that the number, principally this affidavit and the mailing is intended to protect the public, and that's the agency's role is to ensure that the public is protected and does have the opportunity to support or oppose applications, and we believe that that has occurred. Next, we look at the prejudice of the licensee, and we do see that there's substantial prejudice involved, particularly because the supplement was provided only a few minutes before the hearing, and there wasn't much of an opportunity for the applicants to read, digest, and be able to respond to that supplement. And then, of course, if we continue the matter or we deny the application, there would be no liquor service tomorrow and until the hearing that would be down the road. So we do find that there is prejudice to the licensee. One other point to mention is in terms of prejudice is the fact that we are only 3 up here as the commission, and quorum issues restrict us from having hearings until October 12th, which extends the amount of time that you would have to wait in order to have a continuance if that was the course of action. So under the totality of circumstances, I'm inclined to state that the statutory provisions were satisfied despite the error in the affidavit, and that the error in the affidavit was non-prejudicial to the public and to the agency. Now, we see that's just an inclination. I say that also with the understanding to the licensee that this is a very special set of circumstances, particularly the notice that was provided late, and also the fact that the quorum issues would extend any continuance longer than necessary. So we do want to make that well known that this is a totality of the circumstances interpretation, and that this is not something that should be looked at as precedent under normal circumstances. I believe those are my general comments. Oh, I'm sorry, there's one more comment. If we were to approve the application, we would do so under the condition that an amendment to the affidavit be filed to correct the record. With that, I think those are my comments. Would the commissioners have any additional comments or questions for the license or the applicant?
I think as Commissioner Hellinger has pointed out, it is inconsistent with other licensees that have come before the commission and have made errors in their mailings of affidavits. And they were required to make corrections and submit them with the proper notice. And in these, with the list of conditions that the chair has stated, we do find these extraordinary in terms of the effects that it would have on your businesses. Do you have anything else?
Just that, I mean, on my end, my view of it, right, is based on the things we've done in the past, based off of all the extenuating situations, circumstances that happened with these things, right? I have taken those positions in regards to those things, and I wholeheartedly, with the idea these things get passed, would want you to, within 7 days at least, turn in a corrected affidavit of mailing for the record.
Okay, so I would move to approve with reservations, application number 22-24354.
Second,
Sorry, just point of order. Does the motion include the requirements to provide an
I'll-
amendment to
I'll make the motion then. I'm going to make a motion with reservations to approve application number, oops. Need the number, sorry. 22-24354 with the stipulations that you need to turn in within 7 days a corrected affidavit of mailing.
I will second with reservations.
There's been a motion and a second. Any objections or reservations? Hearing none, I too vote aye with
Wait,
reservations.
on or two.
Two reservations, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Two reservations. It is late.
Yes, yes.
I also vote aye with reservations. The application is approved. Application number 22-24354 is approved.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Are we done? Moving to other business, calling agenda item number 17, liquor administrator, administrative matters. Mr. Felix.
Salvatilos, Administrator of the Liquor Commission. I'll keep this short. Some developments in terms of the wage and recommendations. Special projects coordinator Doug O met with the vendor to talk about the scope of work, and I think we're expecting a formal written scope of work sometime next week. And would Commissioners Hong and Volunteer prefer us to reach out to them, or would you just like to reach out to us and so that you can take a look at it and have your comments about it?
I believe as you receive it, if you could just send it over to us, that
We'll
would be
do
good.
that.
And then we can set up a meeting to
Okay,
discuss.
great. Just wanted to make sure that you were aware of that and that we're moving forward. Thank you.
Commissioners, any questions or comments for the administration? Hearing and seeing none, we are adjourned.
Yeah.